Hello, Rick. Happy
Hey, Carlos.
Saturday. How's it going? So it is a Saturday, and this is how committed we are to this
That's right.
newsletter. We couldn't do it in the weekdays because there's just so much going on.
I
So
could
we
hardly sleep last night. Just looking forward to getting up on a Saturday and reaching out to our audience.
Yeah, but you know what? I love this chat, so I don't mind doing it on a Saturday because I'm getting value out of it, and I hope you guys in the audience are getting some value out of it. But January 27th, I can't believe that we're already at the end of January. My wife was telling me, I feel like January is going for so long. It's taking too long, and I'm like, okay, I just can't not believe that it's already the 27th, and so we're already 1/12, almost 1/12 of the year in. I was actually I'm doing dry January, and I thought I was gonna make it way longer, but yeah, I don't know. I just probably been too busy. But yeah, so here here we are. So anyway, we have as always a very packed episode. And before I get into it, I just hope that everybody's getting value out of it. Like we were putting a lot of effort and more than anything, a lot of passion into these episodes. And the idea is for you in the audience to get value, right? So you don't have to go and read all these 300 links that people send on their web and their newsletters. We're curating all that information for you and giving you the highlights. So think about this like a newscast, giving you just the top level highlights, and always coming with a couple tips in how to improve your content marketing game. So
And
if you
before
like,
you get into what today's talk is about, Carlos, I'd love to hear from the audience on things that they'd like us to talk about. And they can leave comments in YouTube, uh, give us their feedback on what we're discussing, and anything they'd like to hear us talk about in the future. Love to hear that feedback.
that's awesome. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Rick. So please give us your feedback. We thrive on feedback, and that's our fuel. So any kind of feedback, please leave it out, and anything that you think would give you more value. And if you like it, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and share it. So we don't ask for any money. We're not monetizing this, but all that we ask you to is if you like it, just share it. And if you don't like it, well, that's okay too. Like just move on and look for something that
Wait,
that
I'm
is
not
much
getting
better than
paid for this?
no, we're not. But yeah. So anyway, okay, let's get into it. So today we're going to be talking about a couple new Google search features. Very interesting. Google shutting down websites that were built on Google Business Profile, and also some stats that came out about Bing Chat market share, TikTok as a search engine. How much does it cost to rank on one keyword? And the great SEO heist. And I tie with that Google losing the spam battle. I think those two are a little bit related. We'll talk about content distribution channels, which I think is um, a very important topic, and we put out a blog about it. And I just want to give you the high level TLDR of the article. And Rick is gonna tell us about how to vet and find high quality writers. It's not as easy, and I know that's what a lot of people work with us because it's hard. So, but we'll still tell you how to do that properly. Okay, well, let's get into it. So, Google launched a couple features last week, and one was called Circle, and is only available on Android. But let's say you take a picture, and the example that they put in the release was a dog wearing some goggles. And then if you circle in the picture the goggles, then it will go and search for those particular goggles, right? So now you can circle things in a picture or in an article that and then you want to search for. So I thought that's pretty cool. Very interesting feature. And the other thing is that what they call it multi-search. So they've been experimenting with multi-search, but pretty much you use Google Lens, and the example that they use is, let's say you go to a garage sale and you find a board game that you've never seen before, and it doesn't have instructions or doesn't have a manual with it. You can take a picture using Google Lens, and you can search for it, and you can ask Google, "How do I play this game?" Now, Google using AI will help you with that query. So, a couple of very cool features on search. I think they're now available on Android. So yeah, I think that's very exciting. Google always coming with new things. So any thoughts on that?
I can't wait to see my wife taking pictures at restaurants of all the clothes she sees other people wearing now, and she'll just be able to. I'm not
Well,
sure if this frightens me or if I'm excited about it because maybe at the
I
mall she can take pictures, or I can take pictures and show her that it's cheaper somewhere else.
yeah. Well, I don't know if you should be taking pictures of people randomly on restaurants.
I
So
agree.
there might be some privacy issues there. But anyway, good luck with that, Rick. Google is shutting down sites that were built on Google Business Profile. So, Rick, tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so the announcement came out recently, and I want to be clear here if anyone is confused. They are not shutting down Google business profiles. What they're shutting down are websites built through the tool in Google business profiles, where you can build out your website for your business. That is shutting down in March of this year. They'll do redirects from then until I think June 10th. But then after that, it's completely shut down. So what does this mean for you? If you are using that tool for a business website, you're going to need a new solution. If it's something that you want to just build yourself, there are tools out there, tools built for those who don't know how to build a website, like Wix and say Weebly or Drag and Drop. Other sites like Squarespace give you templates that you can use. WordPress.com rather than .org is self-hosted. So if you have a hosting problem, not self-hosted, I'm sorry, they host for you. So if hosting your site is an issue for you, check out WordPress.com. I think all of these tools have either free packages or free trials, so test out a few, should be relatively easy. If your site's a little more complex, I absolutely recommend reaching out and talking to a partner who can help build out your site for you, talk to an SEO. At the very least, I'd start backing up your information right now so that you have it before it does get shut down. So just to be clear, Google Business Profiles, formerly known as Google My Business, those are not going away. But the website built through that tool, if you're using it, those are shutting down. March is the shutdown, redirects till June 10th.
Yeah. So, if your business is hosted, or if your website is hosted in Google Business Profile, or was built on Google Business Profile, so you should be thinking about an alternative solution. So now I think this is a great opportunity for agencies, and I know we have a lot of agencies in our audience. So because there's going to be probably business owners trying to figure this out, and they don't want to figure this out because they just don't want they just want to do their business, right? So great opportunity for agencies, and yeah, hopefully all that goes well with those migrations. Okay, so you know, Bing Chat came out. Was it last year? Well, if I don't know, like time
No,
flies
it's
in
been
the
longer.
in the SEO world. But Bing Chat, I think, yeah, was in the end of towards the end of 2022. I think so. Anyway, doesn't matter. And there was so much noise around that, and oh my God, um, this is finally a time when Microsoft's going to be able to compete head to head with Google, and I was very skeptical. And the reason why I was skeptical was not because I didn't think Bing Chat was a good tool. That was pretty impressive what Microsoft achieved. The reason why I was skeptical is because humans we're animals of habit, and we have been habituated to use Google for the last 20 years. So this is not as simple as okay, just probably maybe it's a superior tool at some point, right? Than Google, but it's very hard to break that habit. So unfortunately, so what do you think? How much market share do you think Bing Chat was able to gain after its launch? Just let's take a guess, Rick.
Uh, I'm going to guess that it's very small, but it probably practically doubled what they had to begin with.
Not even double. So I think they
2%.
went from 1%. Yeah, so just 1% of the whole pie.
1%.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, 1% in the world of search is a lot of search.
It's a
Uh,
big number.
Yeah, in absolute numbers, is a big number, but it's just 1%. And I think, I don't know if the amount of money that they invested on it. So anyway, just to say that Google's still the top dog in this game. So Bing Chat only 1%, but
So Google's
we'll
down
put
to like 96% now.
yeah, so it goes from 96 to 95. Yeah. So anyway, but talking about challenging Google's dominance, here is another very interesting story. TikTok as a search engine, and we have been hearing about this people using TikTok as a search engine, especially Gen Zers, millennials. I don't know what's the right term, but Gen Zers. Let's call them Gen Zers. They're now more mm, leaning towards using TikTok as a search engine. So Adobe came out with an article I thought was interesting, but I just give you the highlights. It says over 2 in 5 Americans use TikTok as a search engine. So that's 40%. Nearly 1 in 10 Gen Zers are more likely to rely on TikTok than Google as a search engine. So that's interesting. More than half of business owners, 64%, use TikTok to promote their business, posting an average of 9 times per month. That one I found very impressive. I didn't know that many businesses were already in TikTok. And 1 in 4 small business owners use TikTok influencers for product sales or promotion. So that's 25%. And those figures are mind blowing. So I think the message is like, we need to start taking TikTok seriously. And I think I see a huge advantage for D2C, like direct to consumer, e-commerce, retail, anything that goes to consumer, fashion, recipes, all that stuff, lifestyle, travel, leisure. But I think there's a future for, or maybe it's a present. There's an opportunity for B2B and bigger businesses. So I think everybody needs to start taking TikTok a little bit more seriously. This is not about dancing or not for tweens or 12-year-olds anymore. By the way, those 12-year-olds are now in their mid 20s, right? When TikTok started, it was for 12-year-olds. Now all those 12-year-olds are in their mid 20s and they're professionals and probably working in a company. So let's start taking TikTok a little bit more seriously. And they're probably some of the contenders into the search world. So anyway, just wanted to share those stats with you. We'll put the link to the article in the newsletter. All right. So Rick, how much do you think it costs to rank one keyword?
To rank a keyword, total cost. So I'm going to assume
total cost.
that we're going to talk from strategy and ideation and SEO through pre-production and creating, design, publishing, and we're talking organic rank. Well, obviously,
yeah. Organic rank.
I'm going to go with $2,000.
$2,000? Not even close. So our friends at iPull Rank, my dear friend Garrett Sussman, he published an article about how much does it cost to rank a keyword, and his analysis was that it costs about $55,000 to rank.
My God.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you his breakdown. So SEO strategy is $1,500. Content brief alone $500. Content writer $800, and this is assuming 2,000 words. So do the math of the freelancer rate. Editorial $100. Internal links $1,500. Development. Well, the development part is tricky because he was run a case study about a finance product with a calculator. So you need to develop a calculator, so $10,000. Content design and UX $2,000. Staging and QA $1,500. But the bulk of the cost goes to link building, $37,500. So I have a lot to say about this. I think he did an amazing job of breaking this down and doing an analysis. I think his analysis is sound. But I think there's a lot of other costs that are not that are hidden costs. Okay, this is ranking one keyword or maybe one piece of content. It's not just about that particular piece of content, but a lot of other things that you need to do around, right? So that's why we need to caveat this, that this is a very isolated example and it's a great analysis, but there's a lot of things to take into account. But Rick, I don't know, do you have any impressions or any thoughts? I saw your face when I mentioned $55,000, so I guess you're blown away.
I'm a little blown away. I'm I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around that number, and all I can say is, come see us. We'll give you a deal on that.
Yeah, but no, I mean, realistically, how much does it cost us to create one of our blogs, right? Like, I think we haven't done the
I've
math.
tried not to tell you because you'll make me scale back.
No, no, no. But I guess your time, my time, the writer time, the designer time. Well, I think we're probably anywhere between $3,000 to $5,000 just creating one article, right? When like we put everything into it,
Right.
and maybe the composition part is only a fraction of those $5,000. But we're thinking about design and the brief and the research and the back and forth review and the editorial part. So. Um, it's not cheap, right? It's just a matter of
No,
it. If
it's not.
you want to rank on the top page, you need to really invest. And what I was saying, the cost, these costs could be misleading because to be able to rank, you don't only need to have a great piece of content, but you also have to have authority and you have to have a brand, right? And brand is becoming more and more important, right? So if you don't have authority, you still need to build a bunch of other content just to maybe rank for that keyword. So it's not that you're going to create one piece of content to rank for that keyword. You need a lot of things to support that. So maybe it's more multiples of that. I hope people don't get discouraged by this figure, but it's important to take content seriously if you really want to if you're serious about ranking. So very interesting analysis. We'll link to the article. I thought was really well done. And tipping my hat to Garrett on his analysis. All right, let's talk about the Great SEO Heist. So interesting article that was put out. But Rick, uh, you take it and give us a little bit of context and what are your thoughts on the big SEO heist?
So I think probably a decent amount of our audience had already heard the original story, where a guy basically went and copied a competitor's website structure, and then over the course of 18 months used AI to produce millions of words to basically replicate that website and steal a significant chunk of the traffic. Which I guess kudos to him on the entrepreneurial spirit there. But he went and told the world about his experiment. And so this
Bragging
more
gone
recent
wrong.
article, yeah. So this recent article talks about how after coming out and telling everyone, it caused an uproar. Google went and took manual action against his site and penalized them, and traffic got pretty much shut down, which is probably justice. But I thought the article brought up an interesting point here, where Google is kind of being hypocritical if you think about search generative experience, right?
Yep.
So are they not taking traffic from the websites that they are getting the knowledge from, the information, the content that the AI is producing for SGE, and answering that searcher's query? Is that not the same thing as what this guy did? Yet they penalize him for doing it and are, pushing forward with search generative experience. So, kind of an ethics dilemma there. Like, what's the
Yeah.
right thing? I'm not positioning this as I think search generative experience is a bad idea. I think it needs to be fine tuned. I think credit needs to go where it belongs, and that traffic should be funneled where they belong. But I also believe that people should get their answers as quickly and easily, efficiently as they can. So I'm not sure. I don't know where I'm going to land here. What are your thoughts, Carlos?
Interesting ethical dilemma, right? Like again, Google telling everybody to provide insights and come up with new information, so they can take all that new information and provide it to to the searcher. So yeah, it's interesting. I think um, there's so much information out there, and Google is synthesizing it, so it is making it easier. It's making our lives easier. But in another way, as a content creator, like, okay, what's the point, right? What are we trying to achieve here? And I want to tie this into another article that Google was about Google losing the battle against spam content, right? And how like their search results are getting worse. So are they getting worse? Yeah, maybe. Is there still a lot of spam content? Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I don't know. Is search generative experience going to create a better experience for everybody, better results? I don't know. It's I think we're going through very turbulent times, and things will settle probably in the next couple of years. I think with AI and everything is really fluid right now. The other thing that I don't know if you've noticed, but now organic search has really lost a lot of value because it's mostly below default, right? When you do a search, the first 4 or 5 links are paid ads or sponsored content. So, I mean, content creators,
or
we are
other
having a
features at the top.
yeah, we are having a tough time. And I think this all goes down to what to do, right? Like we all, if you're an SEO, you're living under the thumb of Google, right? And Google is a very moody character, right? And sometimes, they wake up and decide that you don't deserve to rank and lose all your traffic, right? Or some other days they decide that you're worthy of ranking, and then you're getting a lot of traffic without doing anything or anything new or special. So yeah, it's very challenging. That's why we always advise our clients to diversify one and the power of brand. Now, I think I know you've seen it. We talked to some media publishers that their main business is really display ads, right? Their main monetization method is display ads, and they've lost lots of traffic because they don't have a brand per se, or they don't have a product per se. And it seems that Google is rewarding brands, right? And I think in a world where SGE or AI is dominating the information game, maybe the only thing that you have to stand out is brand, having a brand and creating editorial based content. I think informational content is lost a lot of its value, or maybe high level informational content has lost its value. So it's probably a good time to start focusing on editorial type of content, right? Opinion, is first hand experience, like first hand expertise. So yeah, that's what we are advising clients, and I think you and the audience, be smart to start thinking about how to differentiate content. I think content is still going to be a lever that will need to be used to grow your marketing, but it just the game has changed. So I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts?
No, I think you nailed it there.
Well, I don't know if I nailed it, but thanks you. All right. Now let's talk about content distribution, Rick. So one thing is creating great content, but you need to also consider how you're gonna get that content in front of your audience. How you're gonna tell everybody about it, and yeah. So there are many different ways and many different channels. So when you're building your content strategy, not only you need to think about keywords and topics and personas, but okay, what are my channels, and where am I going to put this content? So Rick, tell us a little bit more about what you think, or what people should think about channels for content distribution.
Well, first, if you're unsure or unfamiliar with the terminology, I encourage you to check out the link, go read the article, it'll explain the different channels like owned, earned, paid, and what exactly those mean. But as far as some tips are concerned, let me start with the biggest tip of all, and that is there is no one size fits all recipe when it comes to determining what mix of those channels you should use for your business, um, as far as what's going to work well for you, right? Not just the mix, but the weighting. How much of it should be owned? Owned being your website, your social media, your newsletters, um, where you have full control. Oftentimes, that's where the bulk of the effort goes, but then you've got paid and you've got earned, and how you get those out could have drastic impact on the results you get from them. So I encourage you to try, measure, adjust. Right? You're probably not going to get it right the first time. Uh, give social media a shot. Try some guest posting. Try to get sponsored content out there. see what you're getting from it, and then adjust the percentage or decide whether you're going to continue to do it based on those results. Increase, decrease the percentage of your resources that go towards that channel, um, as uh, as the data tells you. Right. Second thing is be mindful of where your audience is. That is one of the big deciding factors. If your audience spends most of their time on sites like Quora or Reddit, you need to be there, right? Um, Not only do you need to be there, but you need to be familiar with the types of content that works on those platforms. Um, so start with the audience, find out who they are and where they hang out. Tailor your content so that it matches with that platform's best practices. Start small, experiment, try things out, keep adjusting till you find the recipe that works for what you're trying to accomplish. Do try to keep a balance, but how you weight them will change based on the results you're getting. And then, of course, work with your SEO to make sure that you're optimizing for each platform because it's, again, not a one size fits all solution there either. And
Yeah.
last but not least, engage, interact on these platforms. If you accept comments on your platform, which you should, UGC, comments qualify as UGC. But if you have an audience in places like Quora, uh, uh,
Reddit. Reddit, maybe.
Reddit, I'm sorry, even Discord, or traditional social media posts, please interact with people. You'll find it makes your content more effective on those platforms. You'll build an audience faster, and it helps to build trust in your brand if there's a back and forth and you're visible.
Yeah, that's very
That's
helpful,
all.
Rick. Yeah, no, and I think so. Yeah, definitely. Focus where your audience is. Not because everybody's on social media. You should be. No, like social media doesn't work for everybody, and maybe there are certain channels that are a better fit for you. The other thing I urge everybody to make sure you have some channels that you own, and that is your newsletter, for instance, right? Your newsletter is maybe one of the channels where you have the most control because you're not going to be a victim of an algorithm change, right? So, but to build a good newsletter and a good audience just takes time. But so diversify your risk in terms of channels, right? You don't want to be only in Google or only in your blog, and you don't want to be only in social media, right? And all like channels like social media and even search, they're channels that you don't control, right? There is a lot like that you don't control, but think about what channels you can control, build your own audience, right? So yeah, things to think about, diversify. So okay, awesome. Thanks, Rick. Now, last but not least, how do you know how to find good writers, how to vet them? How many have you vet? Like
That's
we're in the
that's
thousands, right? So
proprietary information, Carlos.
we might have vetted and recruited one or two writers here and there. No, but we're
A
we're already in
couple,
the
a
thousands.
couple.
So that's our jam. That's what we do. But we can share some tips with our audience for sure because not all the time they work with us or they sometimes they have their own freelancers or whatnot. So we're happy to share some of the knowledge. So what do you think, Rick? What's the best way to go about it?
All right, I got 6 tips for you here, Carlos. Um, let's start with the actual recruitment. I recommend casting a wide net. So start with job boards like Indeed, LinkedIn. You will get a lot of response to writer ads on these platforms. You will disqualify the majority of them, but this ensures you're getting a lot to choose from. But don't ignore the more focused platforms. Facebook has no shortage of copywriter, content writer groups that you can join and advertise in. Same with Reddit, Quora again, other social media. There are places where you can go where these folks gather, uh, and that can help you to find maybe more specialized talent depending on what you're looking for, or just to build a relationship because you're likely going to need different writers down the road. So get
Mhm.
involved in those groups that can help make your recruiting a little easier. But for the short term blast of, I want a bunch of resumes that I can sift through to find my writer, do cast that wide net. Second tip, actually, the next two tips I think are about samples. Ask for them, but be mindful that a finished article, so if they're providing links, bylined links, here's an article I wrote, that article's likely been through editing, QA, possibly revisions. It may not look anything like what that writer originally submitted. So uh, do review those samples, but always ask, how heavy was the editing? Do you have the original draft? Pre-revisions, pre-editing for this article for you to review. Um, but just know some editors out there will really polish up a piece, and the sample they provide to you may not be indicative of their actual skill level. Now, staying on
That's
the
right.
subject of samples, tip number, say that
I
again?
just want to interject there that's super insightful tip because a lot of people will ask freelancers for writing samples and they'll get a finished product, but the finished product has a lot of hands on it
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and the contribution of the writer might just be minor. Maybe the editor had to edit 90% of the article. So that's actually a really, really insightful tip. So yeah, just wanted to highlight that particular one because not a lot of people think about this. So I'm sorry, Rick, go on.
No, not at all. Um, Ask for relevant samples. And the reason that I say this is that there are outstanding writers out there who can just create engaging blog posts, um, that are well thought out and logical, and they will just pull you through the entirety of their writing, and you'll have epiphanies, and it'll just be fantastic. But give that same writer marketing copy, and it's a whole other story. Ask them to write a category page or a product description, and it's like a different person. Not always. There are some writers, they are the minority, but there are some who are just good at pretty much any content type you can throw at them. But a lot of writers do have their strengths and weaknesses. General copy versus marketing copy being one of the most common. Um, but I've also seen things like writers who focus on a certain niche, right? So if I have a writer who is outstanding at technology, writing content about technology, and it really shines through, it's confident, it's on point. Um, if I turn to that writer and say, hey, can you do this one about real estate? Some writers, as their knowledge level declines, so does their ability to write. It's a weird thing, but I see it quite a bit. The writing itself, it's not that the writing doesn't have that same level of knowledge. It's like the writing skill dropped because they've lost their confidence. They no longer know what they're talking about as much. The writing gets choppy, and it goes in different directions. So when you're reviewing samples, it's really helpful to ask for samples that align with what you're looking for. If not in subject matter, then maybe in content type. If you need white papers written, you should look at white papers, not look at marketing copy, not look at a casual blog post. So try to get as relevant as possible with the samples. Uh, Last tip on samples: it's okay to ask for an unpaid writing sample. If you do, generally 300 to 500 words is about all that you should ask for. Anything over that, I mean, you're now asking the person to put in a day's work for nothing, where you end up with a potentially publishable piece of content. So keep it low. What I actually recommend is for your first round of evaluations to ask for samples they've already done. Send me some bylined links, or the documents that you created, and then when you get down to your short list, ask for paid samples. Give them something longer form to do that you can better evaluate. It's tough to evaluate 300 to 500 words, but do pay them for that sample. Fourth tip, no, fifth. I'm sorry, I've been through four already. Get everything out on the table ahead of time, preferably right in your ad. Be clear with expectations like pay schedule and how you pay. Is this an hourly gig or a price per word type of situation? What are the deadlines going to be? What type of expectations do you have for timeliness on that writer? Are revisions going to be included? And do you feel it's something that, some businesses we work with, that first deliverable is always considered a draft. No matter how close to publish ready we consider it, it's just part of their process. We're going to take it, we're going to mark it up, we're going to give it back, you're going to revise it. It's not that you did it wrong, it's just that's our process. So if that's your process, the writer should know this ahead of time. Um, Other things, communication expectations. How much volume you expect to have? If there's a cadence, is this work that you're asking going to be weekly, bi-weekly? Do they need to be on call? Um, so set all of these things ahead of time so that you're not wasting their time and they're not wasting yours, because not every writer fits into every scenario. And last but not least, be realistic with your own expectations. No matter how good the writer, it always takes calibration to get a writer on track. They will have to learn your brand voice. They will have to learn your brand positioning, your product and service itself. And at first, it's going to be close, maybe a little off target, could be way off target. You have to be prepared to invest the time with your writer, giving them the feedback they need to get them where they need to go. It's not going to happen on the first piece or two. So be prepared for that. They don't walk in the door ready to go, knowing exactly how your content reads, sounds, what your voice is like. They need that back and forth to get alignment. That's it.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a lot of work, Rick. Well, and I guess that's why some people come on board with us. It's just there's so much work, and it's hard, right? Like you get hundreds of resumes, and then you have to sift through samples and resumes and experience, and then more samples. So it's a lot of work. But the sample piece, I think, if you live with something from this chat is get samples, and we do that for most of our or for new prospects. Say, look, I can talk your head off on how great we are at writing. Doesn't matter. It's just so far it's just talking head. I'm gonna show you with some good samples, and yeah. So on that, it usually get us the contracts and get us the job because they see the sample. The same, if you're asking freelancers, the best way to evaluate them doesn't matter the interview or custom samples that they bring off the shelf. Get them to write a sample. Pay for it. It's worth your money to pay for the sample because you're going to get a better idea, and then you're going to avoid hiring somebody that's not a good fit. And hiring somebody that is not a good fit is going to cost you much more in terms of opportunity costs and actually hard costs. So, all right, hopefully that helps in how to find great writers. Today was a long episode. I'm starting to get fearful that we just keep standing. So we'll see. Well, give us your feedback. Are we going too long? Maybe there's stuff that we talk about that is totally irrelevant, but your feedback would be much appreciated. And again, if you like this stuff, do tell us as well and do share. If you don't like it, please don't share it. But don't tell anybody that you didn't like it. So, well, anyway, thanks everybody. And until next time, thank you, Rick. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Carlos. Bye, everyone.